Hi, my name is Jason.
And I'm Kaylynn.
Welcome to What's Your Problem, where we discuss current issues in distance learning and education.
Storytelling is one of the oldest forms of communication, from parents telling stories to their children, grandparents sharing family histories, and cavemen drawing pictures on the walls of caves. The act of storytelling can transcend generations. Here is Bernadette to tell us a little more about today's topic and how it relates to us in education. Bernadette?
Appeasement is defined as the diplomatic policy of making political, material, or territorial concessions to an aggressive power to avoid conflict. Did your eyes roll into the back of your head? Did that all start to sound a little too pedantic? Okay, let me try this again. If you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to ask for a glass of milk. When you give him the milk, he'll probably ask for a straw. When he's finished, he'll ask for a napkin. Does this childhood story sound familiar? It's the story about a little boy who takes on increasingly demanding tasks from a little mouse. After reading this tale to students, we can return to the definition of appeasement, particularly as it applies to World War II. If you give Hitler a Rhineland, then he'll want Austria too. If you give Hitler an Austria, then he'll want a Sudetenland too. On the surface level, it may seem a bit dark to relate the appeasement of a World War II dictator to the mouse of a children's storybook. But the shift in how students think about political strategy is an abrupt phase. Storytelling's power in the classroom works for the very youngest of learners to our students in higher education. It can take complex ideas and reduce them to their most basic premise. It can emotionally invest students into the concepts that they are tasked to learn. It can give a face to an otherwise faceless concept. But let's hand it off to Kaylynn to learn more about the nitty-gritty of storytelling.
From the time we are wee little ones, our parents are telling us stories to help us regulate our emotions, learn about our family's past, and teach about the world around us. As we get older, storytelling is one of the best ways we relate to others and make connections. According to the University of Pennsylvania's The Wharton School Interactive, learning through stories happens in 3 stages: hearing, telling, and being. Hearing a story is the first stage. This is where students can begin their understanding and create their foundation for memory. When stories are used for teaching in the classroom, the instructor creates a link between theory and application, which kickstarts the memory process. Telling a story is the second stage. This is when students can take what the instructor has taught them and start making sense of it through connections and explanations. Being in a story is the final stage. This is when students are able to experience the story. Through simulations, real-world scenarios, students are able to tap into their memories from hearing and telling a story to put it into practice by being part of a story. Stories allow students to connect emotionally and socially to the content. Research shows people remember stories more than they do straight facts, so telling a story to explain a concept versus forcing memorization of a concept and definition will better connect students' core memory and understanding.
Thanks, Kaylynn. The accepted statistic is that people remember about 80% of what they see, as opposed to 20% of what they read and 10% of what they hear. When you think about storytelling, you first think about reading stories and listening to stories, but storytelling lends itself beautifully to visualization, allowing it to be an incredibly powerful tool in the virtual or traditional classroom. Now, Kaylynn talked a little bit about storytelling as strategy in the more traditional literary sense, but storytelling at its foundation is the relation of information through some kind of narrative element. In other words, we don't have to package everything in some kind of plot in order to leverage the power of storytelling. Alicia Arnold, co-author of the textbook Accounting Information Systems and adjunct professor at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, illustrated exactly this in a workshop she gave on data, visualization, and storytelling. The process she uses begins with text and uses visualization storytelling to make that information more obtainable to an audience. Arnold was tasked with delivering information on impacting sustainability within the workplace. She was given a dense, text-based resource with actions employees can take to be more eco-conscious. Instead of just sending out the resource in text form, Arnold evaluated it and highlighted the words that were the most important. She then drafted an infographic for the information, assigning icons to each set of highlighted words. She then took her draft to the free online design tool Canva and created a sustainability infographic based on her icon sketches and keywords that could be sent out. The visual was highly acclaimed and instantly showed results across the institution. This strategy lends itself perfectly to enhancing instruction. Let's say you have a bunch of information you want students to know from the textbook. Taking some time to break it down into keywords and iconography takes something generally text-based and presents it visually. Or better yet, ask students to identify the text's main ideas and keywords, and then have them transform that main idea into a visual representation. This visual representation leads to a higher attention for students. It's kind of like in the incomparable film Everything Everywhere All at Once. That film is a metaphor for the overwhelming aspect of the internet, that it's an infinite amount of stuff. And that's how students view their course materials. So like Evelyn in that film, someone needs to navigate the craziness to help everyone else get the message. This technique doesn't, nor should it, replace the need for students to read the textbook, but it presents the main points in a visual representation to strengthen learning of that material. Sprinkling a few of these visual activities throughout the semester, perhaps even using one each week or module, could become a powerful way to insert storytelling into your course and reinvent the way students encounter your content.
What a great idea, Jason! Furthermore, the addition of storytelling-related assessments allows students to share a part of themselves with their peers and integrate their past and present experiences, a learning strategy that can create long-term memories. Help students connect to the content through reflections, presentations, or portfolios. At the end of a teacher education program, the students have a portfolio to show. This is a story of their learning and abilities as teachers. Biology students conduct research projects during junior and senior years to showcase the knowledge, skills, and abilities they have obtained through their coursework. Doctoral students must be able to write and orally defend a dissertation based on the content they are studying. In our Physics 104 online course, students complete a group project where they share religious, spiritual, and philosophical views, triggered within themselves, essentially stories, and create a personalized Big Bang kaleidoscope resource. In our CJ 221 online course, there is a running journal where students write reflections based on certain scenarios and case studies related to that week's content. This puts students in the perspective of someone in the criminal justice field and allows them to make connections with the stories. Hopefully, these examples help you figure out a way to incorporate storytelling into your curriculum.
If you give an ID a problem, then we'll give you a solution, or at least try to. Today, we looked at storytelling as a tool in our classrooms. We saw the potential for students to connect with real stories and invoke greater investment in the content. We witnessed the visual aspects of storytelling and the power of a good infographic. And finally, we explored the power of personal storytelling in portfolios. Storytelling in education isn't just about the story in a traditional sense. It's also about empowering students to tell their own story in an academic setting.
What's Your Problem wants to hear from you. If you have an idea you'd like us to discuss in a future episode, or if you just want to drop us a line, send us an email or follow us on Twitter.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
What's your problem? What's your problem?